In this workflow video, I want to give you a quick introduction to the general sequence for sharpening and editing a video in our new Sharpen Video 3 Professional. Let's load a video. This is a drone shot of the Indian Ocean with some waves hitting the beach. Let's take a quick look at the video here and see what we have. The video is not very sharp and could be edited a bit in terms of brightness. So I'd like to show you how that works. And we're here on the interface after loading the video, and we have our finalize area on the right. I'm going to switch off all the modules here for a moment. Let's just keep super sampling and sharpness on the interface so we have a bit more space to work with. The first question to ask with the video is, what category do I actually have here? We have different sharpness categories here. We have the first category, the general default settings, then blur correction, haze and fog correction, general image sharpness, portrait, landscape, and slightly more artistic. And let's think about what we're doing here. We want to sharpen it up a bit. Let's zoom in for a closer look. We want to sharpen this up a little, and maybe also try to bring out a bit more detail in the white wave areas. This can usually be done using haze and fog correction. For example, we could go to the haze and fog category and then click on set automatically. Now when I press the right mouse button, I see the original, and this is the edited version. That's one thing we could do. But we also wanted a bit more sharpness, and that's what we get with the first category. That's why it's the first category at the front here, and the default setting. If we now click set automatically, all the templates are checked, and a suitable one is selected. If we press that, we get more sharpness, and a haze and fog correction, which is particularly effective in the bright areas. Here again, maybe let's go to the magnifying glass again and open the comparison view to see what we've actually got here. We can see it's gotten sharper and we've got more details in the bright areas. So that's a step in the right direction. Let's turn off the magnifying glass. And this preset is now selected here with a slight correction of blur and fog. But we can go one or two down and increase the strength. That's a little stronger. Or we can go to the settings for the parameters where we have all the blur controls. For example, we could increase the radius for the blur correction. That is how large the area around a pixel should be to calculate the blur correction. If we increase this radius a bit, we get more sharpness. We also have to make sure we don't make it too sharp, but you'll see that pretty quickly. The second adjustment for our special video is maybe to increase the haze and fog correction slightly. We hold the right mouse button for the original image and release it for the current image or video if we're calculating on it. And once you're happy with the settings, you can just click render video, and the video is then rendered accordingly. But you can do a whole lot more in the settings. You can see there are plenty of settings in here. And I'd like to use the multi-directional sharpening here too. Multi-directional means correcting blurring in different directions at the same time. And we use this whenever objects within the picture are moving in different directions within an image. And that's the case with waves. They don't all just move exactly 5 pixels to the left, they all move differently. And that's where the multi-directional sharpness can really make a difference. Let's select the option with artificial intelligence. In the new features, you may have already watched the video. I explained that the calculation is much faster. And here I'm going to select the second category. I'm shown a brief warning, you're activating multi-directional sharpening, but it's only shown once. And we can see there is much more sharpness from the calculation. For me personally, that's a bit too much. So I'm going to go back one category. That's a bit better. And if we now compare by right-clicking and then releasing the right mouse button again, we can see a lot has happened already. Here too, as well as increasing the radius, let's set it back a little so it doesn't get too sharp. We don't want to over sharpen it. We could also increase the quality of the blur correction again. There are 4 modes in total: Balance, Pro, Pro Plus and Pro Infinity. I'm going to go one mode up and you can see that gives us a bit more. Of course, the calculation time also gets longer. You can go as high as you want, depending on how much computing time you want to give the program to calculate the video. Do just keep in mind that when we calculate videos, like the 30-second video with 30 frames per second in this example, that's already 600 frames, so it will take a while. Let's go back to the original quality level, which is enough in the vast majority of cases. Now I just want to talk about one more thing, which is super sampling. I personally always use it right at the very end. When I'm happy with my settings, I look at the contours I have and see if they get a little frayed, like these kind of jagged structures here. For something like that, I can switch on super sampling. Let's set that to 2-fold, and we can now see that the contours have become softer again. Here's the comparison of the original and with sharpness and super sampling. And that's actually always the way I do it. I only ever use oversampling myself if I have serious sharpness issues with extreme blurring. Let's have a quick look at what it does. I'll take out the multi-directional sharpness and let's take out super sampling too and have a look. This is before, this is after. And the oversampling, it doesn't sharpen the image in the video in one pass. It sharpens the image in several successive runs and therefore achieves a much finer result. If I select 3-fold here, you may not even see it change because that only makes a difference with really blurry, very soft images. Let's go back to our setting. Multi-directional sharpness level 1, 2-fold super sampling, and we get an extremely homogeneous, well-sharpened video. And we can be pretty happy with that result. Now all we need to do is select an appropriate codec and render the video. And we're done. So I hope this workflow gave you a bit of an idea of everything you can do, and see you next time.